Welcome aboard the Beseto Express. We'll cover 3 countries: Beijing in China, Seoul in Korea, and Tokyo in Japan. Together we'll explore the culture of Beseto. All aboard the Beseto Express.
If we were to prepare a feast with just 3 types of food, what would they be? Well, a wine would most likely be on the list. Wines have been a crucial part in lifting the mood since ancient times. Some people have even called wine the drink of the gods. Different places of the world offer their own wines, made through their own cultures with pride. To just talk about the types of wines we all know of, a typical map of the world may not be quite enough. And the Beseto countries have their own wines they are proud of. Wines of China are strong but promise no hangovers. The wines of Japan are gentle and sweet. And the wines of Korea show off their mild and unique tastes. Shall we go taste the wines of Beseto?
Hello again, I'm Doris Han, your host of Beseto Express. On today's show, we're going to take a look at the traditional drinks of the Beseto region. By traditional drinks, I mean alcoholic ones, of course. Alcohol is something the East and West have in common. Both cultures consider it a must-have beverage. However, in Korea, there's been a saying generation after generation that alcohol, when used properly, can produce medicinal effects, whereas, on the other hand, when used improperly, it can be a poisonous toxin to the human body. So, if you're ready to start our journey, let's go meet this exquisite spirit of Korea.
Ever since the Korean people settled on the peninsula, they've been farming. Korea's climate, which has a higher humidity than the West, allowed the production of a variety of wines. The wines of Korea show off the various local cultures. The types of wines, their fermenting techniques having been passed down, add up to more than 300. Among them, it's said that there is a very unique secret in making Korea's gokju wine. You're looking at malt. Malt refers to grain that has been left to gather mold. It has enzymes used for making wine. But there are numerous kinds of molds that are produced in this malt. That is the secret to Korean wine, with its combination of tastes. In Korea, malt is mostly made with wheat. Steamed wheat is made into a square and then matured in a warm place. Sometimes herbs are even added. Malt is usually made in the summer. That is because hot and humid weather helps the growth of mold, making good malt. From this stage, the malt is considered a breathing, living thing. Let's find out how more than 300 different types of Korean wines are classified. Included are fruit wines made by fermenting fruit rather than using malts. Some wines have oriental medicine added to them for health. These are wines used in dishes like bulgogi or even for bathing water. And these are wines made for special occasions. Grains or fruits are used according to the season. Let's find out about the characteristics of Korean wines.
한국 전통술을 한마디로 얘기하라 그러면 음식이라고 보시면 됩니다. 그러니까 다른 어떤 술들은 그냥 단순한 기호 음료로 생각을 하는데 우리 전통술은 음식과 같이 만들고 또 음식과 같이 먹고 또 음식과 같이 그것이 나중에는 몸에도 이로운 그런 것이 되도록 옛날 사람들은 만들고 빚고 또 먹고 그랬죠. 그것이 가장 큰 한국 전통술의 특징입니다.
In China, wine has been produced and loved for nearly 5,000 years. But in the beginning, wine was mostly used as an offering to the gods. As time passed, wine penetrated into the lives of the people. In China today, when you serve wine instead of tea to a guest, that means you think of that person as a precious guest. Malt is used in China as well to make wine. But unlike making malt out of wheat as in Korea, the Chinese usually use kaoliang grain, which is found abundantly in the large plains of China. The wines of China are strong, resembling the carefree characters of the Chinese people. But since they are made by fermenting grain, they don't give you much trouble the next morning. Let's find out about some of the famous wines China is proud of. This is the most popular wine found anywhere in China. This typical Chinese wine is 55% alcohol but claims to be smooth. The secret herb in this wine is a delicious mystery. This wine helps digestion and recovering from fatigue. This wine comes from the region famous for its great tasting water. This wine is said to have 5 different kinds of tastes at once. And the best is?
多种多样，那就是说，现在我们呢大体上就是可以比较概括的分的，可以分成为，就是说酱香型，啊，把它酱香型，把它形容为叫是一种叫是酱香型。那么它的典型代表就是中国的茅台酒。另外一个呢就是叫做浓香型。浓香型的代表就是四川的这个泸州大曲，它是这个浓香型的代表。另外呢，还有就是叫清香型，清香型酒的代表呢就是山西的汾酒。
Originally, Japanese wine was made by fermenting it with cooked rice chewed by a 15-year-old girl. However, ever since malt spread to Japan from Korea, it also became popular. But in Japan, rice is usually used for making malt. Now, let's find out about the different kinds of Japanese wine. Famous wines of Japan are divided into how much the rice is husked. Some use 65% husked rice and some use 50%. The taste of the wine differs according to how much starch remains.
で日本酒の特徴というか、やはり、ビールとかですね、ワイン、ウイスキーと違って、作り方に非常にその技術面が非常に要求される部分ですよね。いわゆる経験とその作り手側の技術、そしてその水、その米ですね。そういったものが良くなければいい酒ができないですね。やはり日本酒の特徴ですと、その並行不格好ということで、麹、酵母、そして水、米といういろんなものの原料を使いますんで、その中でその酒の作りが難しい、そしてその味を出すのに大変だという部分がありますよね。
Scotland has its whiskey, Holland its gin, and Mexico has tequila. Almost every country around the world has their own trademark liquor, and so do the 3 countries of Beseto. Well, I'm ready for a taste. How about you? Shall we?
Wines of Korea with so many different varieties and tastes. Among them, several have been designated as cultural assets and have been passed down through the generations. One of those wines is the Moonbeju. This wine, with over several hundred years of history, is a precious wine made only in one house, passed down from generation to generation, even to this day. To make this wine, you first need to mix steamed kaoliang grain and millet seeds with wheat malt. Then age the mixture.
안녕하세요.
예, 안녕하세요.
지금 뭐 하세요?
지금 증류하고 있는 겁니다.
증류가 뭐예요?
증류라는 거는 이제 여기 수수하고 조를 갖다 이게 발효시켜 가지고, 예?
네.
그걸 이제 한 보름간 발효를 시켜 가지고 여기 그 가마에다 그 발효시킨 걸 여기다 넣고 이걸 장작을 떼면은 열이 가해질 거 아니에요.
네.
그럼 열이 가해지면 그 증기가 위에 그 찬 데가 있다고요. 뭐 찬물을 담가놨는데 거기 다 가지고 닿으면은 이슬이 맺죠.
네.
그 이슬이 떨어지는 것이 이게 바로 문배주예요. 술을 마시면은 그 입에서의 향이
네.
배맛이 난다 그래가지고 우리 조상들이 붙인 이름이죠.
예.
The taste of this wine can differ just by altering the temperature of the fire, and also if the final product is not cooled enough. So, when the wine starts to drip, the winemaker must stay in front of it all through the process. That is the reason there is a saying, the mind of the Korean people making wine is the mind of offering a prayer. The Korean people put their hearts into the wines they make. One way to show this is by bowing in front of an ancestor's shrine before and after making the wine.
어디까지나 문배술은 그 전수 보존의 목적이 있습니다. 그래서 이 술을 좀 더 우리 조상들이 만들었던 술과 흡사하게 만들어 가지고 전수 보존을 해 가지고 우리 후세에게 이런 유산을 남기고 싶습니다.
The Chinese people say that a person who drinks well has a good personality. That may be one of the reasons why so many famous wines have developed in different regions of the country. But methods of making such famous wines are usually kept secret and are typically very expensive. The most popular wine among the Chinese people nowadays is Ep13, a folk wine from Beijing, famous for its good taste and reasonable price. Let's find out about Ep13.
那么对北京来说，北京那么最有名的就是属于叫做家里我美的，是今日平常百姓家餐桌上用的白酒。那么最有名的就是二锅头，一般都是中级状态的酒，质量比较好。哎，那么和这个相对应，这个水这个不是要不断的换的吗？开始的时候，那么是叫第一锅。哎，那么第一锅拿掉了，那就第二锅。那么相对于中级状态的，那么就第二锅开始。哎，因此呢，也就是说，相对于这个冷却的过程当中，那么所以就是这一个生产过程啊，那么就是叫第二锅啊，哎，它的出来的酒啊，就是比较好。那么生产者把它这个生产现象，把它变成了一个商品的名字的，变成一个商品名字，那么又是给它取了个名啊，叫二锅头。
Japanese people love sake with its mild and sweet taste. How is sake made? First, the rice is, of course, husked. Impurities are then filtered from the husked rice. From there, the rice is washed and put into a steamer. Large amounts of rice are steamed at once. Finally, the steamed rice is cooled and half of it is made into malt. Mold then gathers on the malt. And finally, all the ingredients are mixed together and fermented. The elements that make good Japanese wine are good ingredients, good water, and the right temperatures. To differentiate good wine from bad wine in Japan, you must consider the quality of those three elements. The temperature requiring constant supervision is very important. Japanese wine made like this goes through a sampling test. The price of the wine is also decided after this sampling. The clearer the color of the wine, the more expensive it will be sold for. A clearer color means it aged better. Japanese wine is recognized as good wine only if it has the unique Japanese flavor and smell, and sweet and gentle tastes.
그다지 알코올 냄새가 나지 않고 마시기 쉬운 누구라도 마실 수 있는 술이어서 인기가 좋은 것 같습니다.
Well, so far during the show, we've seen and even sampled the traditional drinks of the Beseto region. However, I've heard that especially in Korea, today traditional alcohol is becoming more popular than beer or whiskey. I think I'll go and ask the group to see why they prefer the taste of traditional alcohol.
Information about Korean traditional wines is kept here. They have many things besides objects that were used to make wine in the old days. Here you can easily see how Korean traditional wines were made. This place is always busy with touring students and families. Everybody learns to appreciate the tradition, and they all eagerly learn the manners in drinking wine before they actually get to taste it. There is also a company that produces Korean traditional wine in a modern factory. This place, built by a man who studied Korean traditional wine for years, also exports all over the world.
배합 방법이라든지 아니면 만드는 기초적인 방법 그리고 원료가 되는 누룩 그런 것들은 전부 다 전통의 것들입니다. 근데 그 전통의 것도 만드는 방법에서는 과학적인 방법을 택한 거죠.
The Korean people's affection towards their traditional wine can be found in places such as these recently opened traditional taverns. You'll find not only various Korean wines, but many dishes made from the wines and an international crowd to enjoy it all with.
European wines, Middle Eastern wines, American Californian wines, which are pretty famous, are more or less the same. The flavor changes a little bit, but they're more or less the same. In here, the flavors are very distinct and unique. It's a different kind of wine. It's very special, it is tasty, it is light, and it's just interesting.
Alcohol is mainly consumed when celebrating a joyous event. However, many of those living in the busy world of today consume alcohol to release stress or to escape from their everyday problems. However, we mustn't forget that alcohol is like a special gift given to us by a higher being. I guess that's why they're often referred to as being spirits. As we've seen here today, alcohol isn't merely just a liquid, but something that symbolizes a country and its culture. Well, I guess it's time to end today's show. Once again, my name is Doris Han, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.
As we know from our history books, controlling wine has allowed many to prosper. Respecting the cultures of wines will further all towards prosperity.